What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, yesterday things got unreal for the Nintendo Switch 2 rumor mill after a couple of reports described a system that shocked a lot of people online because it appears to be more powerful than most of us were expecting. We'll go over that though here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Sony and a PlayStation 5 console bundle that's leaked a bit early, of course, once again bringing into question the idea of this revision coming up this year still. And we'll also be talking about the ESA and E3 2024, as well as apparently E3 2025. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. We're gonna start today with Nintendo and Charles Martinet. Wasn't too long ago that Nintendo issued a statement online that Charles was moving away from doing like the full-time voicing for all the different characters, Mario, Luigi, Wario, Waluigi. There's a long list that Charles Martinet would voice, and he's been doing it for a long time. As Miyamoto said in the video that they released, Mario 64. I know people were saying about Mario typing and stuff, but they're just picking out the game that most people would be familiar with. Anyway, that video that they had mentioned did release. It's on their Twitter account now, and of course, people were talking about it quite a bit because we have Charles and Miyamoto talking about all kinds of things, whether it is his new role, which is the Mario Ambassador, or even reminiscing on previous meetings that they would have. And it's fun. It's obviously set up for the fans and stuff. And now Charles going on to be a Mario Ambassador, people are still wondering what that is. I think it's just he's able to use the Mario intellectual property and stuff as he makes the rounds to different conventions and events, doing signings and just meeting up with fans. So definitely go check out the video. Again, they kind of set it up for fans to be able to see and have Charles sort of talk about his new role going forward, which he does seem really excited about. As I mentioned, I saw him at too many games and seemed to be having a good time. Also, about a year ago, Gargoyles Remastered was announced at that Disney D23 gaming event that didn't really have any big announcements because this was kind of one of them, but still, it definitely had that pull of nostalgia towards the 16-bit era, and now we have a release date for it, as well as a new trailer that you can see here, and go figure, it's coming out in October because nothing else is coming out that month. However, this is coming out October 19th, so the day before Spider-Man 2 and Super Mario Bros. Wonder comes out. Gargoyles Remastered. Anyway, the game itself coming to Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, Steam, GOG. It also has another art style that you can just switch to. I still kind of like the 16-bit era visuals for this one. Again, a lot of nostalgia towards that Saturday morning cartoon block with Gargoyles, then also renting this back then to play. So I'll probably stick with the 16-bit visuals, but I will check out the new ones here and there just to see how it exactly it does. But new features, of course, achievements, gameplay rewind, and more. So if you're able to find time in October, there you go. Gargoyles Remastered will be there. Otherwise, maybe drop it in the backlog and check it out in the first quarter or so of 2024. Oh, and there was a pretty funny interaction that took place between Todd Howard and Bloomberg, as there was an interview that involved him as well as Phil Spencer talking about the launch of Starfield, how things were going, and one question apparently pulled from the audience, as you can see with Tom Warren sharing the screenshot and link to the video here, was asking Todd Howard, why did you not optimize Starfield for PC? And he responded, we did. You might need to upgrade your PC. And he goes on to say, oh, this is a next generation PC release, so you might need next generation parts in order to play it. So it won't work on your i3 necessarily and your 1060 or whatever. Obviously, we know Starfield, there's a lot going on when it comes to tracking items and stuff in the game, and it's also a Bethesda title. When those games come out, specifically at launch, they definitely push the hardware for better or worse and all this. But the game itself, I'm having a lot of fun with. Just, I guess, make sure your parts are at least upgraded and they're next-gen capable. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Nintendo and these new reports that are going around about closed-door meetings that they were having at Gamescom. Now, on the second channel, we had talked about basically a tweet that Jez Corden put out talking about some interactions he had with developers who had seen this device, and he kind of mixed up. It was like developers and press. I feel like if Nintendo showed press, we would know a lot more about this device right now because stuff gets to the press, of course, reports get written and all kinds of stuff like we are seeing here. So most likely Nintendo showcased the device to different developers and really giving an idea what the system will be capable of, again, kind of going into 2024 when we are expecting it to release. But there was one part that definitely got people talking. We'll start from the top though here. This over on Eurogamer, where they say one Switch 2 demo is a souped up version of the Switch launch title Zelda Breath of the Wild, designed to hit the Switch 2's beefier target specs. They do say, to be clear, this is just a tech demo, does not necessarily mean that they are re-releasing Breath of the Wild, although that is definitely a possibility. Okay, I'll at least put that out there. But the idea, I think, with Breath of the Wild, it's a game that most people who have a Switch probably familiar with it, right? It's easier to showcase that. And of course, it's a game that they made in-house and all of this. So it definitely dresses up very nicely in emulators when you move the resolution up and the frame rate. So seems like a good one to kind of showcase and just give an idea as to what would be possible, say, in an open world title. The tech demo that got everyone online talking, however, is over on VGC, where they say another source claimed that Nintendo showcased Epic's impressive The Matrix Awakens Unreal Engine 5 tech demo. So it was originally released to showcase the power of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X in 2021, running on target specs for its next system. The demo said to have been running using NVIDIA's DLSS upscaling technology, with advanced ray tracing enabled and visuals comparable to Sony's and Microsoft's current gen consoles, which is very important to note, comparable, not exactly like. So let's say they were showcasing this, maybe it was on the 8-inch screen that's apparently being talked about included with it. And that way, if it's a shrunk down image, they can get away with a lower resolution, that sort of thing. Technically, they could have just had it plugged up to a TV and showcasing it, but doesn't necessarily mean that it's on the same settings as what we see with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. And this then also using things like DLSS, you can upscale an image, say, 720p or something up to 1080p or even 4K in order to achieve it. We also don't necessarily know how well it was running or, again, what cutbacks would have had to have been made to make it possible. So it's that situation of you hear something running on it, but you don't necessarily know what it looks like in person. Like, for example, the Switch is coming out, right? 2016, and I go, they're going to have Witcher 3 on that system. You would think that it's the most powerful handheld ever made then. But then you see Witcher 3 and you're like, okay, they made a lot of concessions to get that game on the platform. So still the jury's still kind of out on this one. However, it is pretty impressive to hear about the Matrix tech demo from UE5 running on Nintendo's next system, and it does open up the possibilities with DLSS and ray tracing being present. This isn't the first time, though, that NVIDIA has utilized Unreal Engine to showcase their new Tegra processor, with the X1 actually having been shown off with that Unreal Engine 4 tech demo, the one that actually was shown off even on the PlayStation 4 when that was being revealed for the first time. Now, there was one other thing that got out there that is, again, having people kind of talk about the specifications for this system, which we can see this posted up by My Nintendo News. And this is referencing Necro Felipe from Universal Nintendo. It says, from my sources, the DLSS version shown behind closed doors by the Nintendo Switch 2 tech demo was 3.1, not 3.5. This is in reference to the version of DLSS. Ray tracing is indeed possible, and the RAM memory I was informed of was 12 gigabytes for the consumer. It's a very important thing to note for the consumer, as you could have, say, the development kit maybe having 16 gigabytes of memory, or even a full 24. They could just double up on it. Now, I saw some skepticism around this, and target specs like that, they're still probably working to fine-tune everything just to see what they're going to ship and manufacture exactly. But 12 gigabytes is certainly possible, because one of the biggest hangups now is something like, say, the Xbox Series S, that I'm kind of thinking this system is going to get closer and closer to comparing, say, in Digital Foundry and analysis videos and stuff, is kind of hung up now with the situation on 8 and then the 2 gigabyte split, so 10 gigabytes of memory. I think Nintendo coming in at 8 gigabytes might actually be an issue sooner than they think, so even making the push up to 12 would probably be better for future-proofing. Remember, with the original Switch, reports came out that Capcom had pushed Nintendo in the direction of putting 4 gigabytes in the system, as opposed to the typical configuration that the X1 was using at the time at 3 gigabytes. And Nintendo made it happen, and it was a custom configuration that they put in the Switch because it was requested by developers, and RAM seems to be the big hot button topic right now for different developers with these game systems. So you seem like Nintendo might go, we don't necessarily want to run into a whole situation of we have to do some sort of revision because games just aren't working. Let's just make the push now to 12 and we'll be good to go for years and years in the future. But still, exact specs, still probably up in the air when it comes to RAM configuration. However, the idea of DLSS, ray tracing, and the system being able to run something like the Matrix UE5 demo is very compelling going forward towards its eventual reveal, and the possibilities when it comes to Nintendo's own developers who get a lot out of the Switch now. What's being described here would be a significant upgrade over that system, and that's a system that is running things like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 or Tears of the Kingdom. Now give them something like this next generation device that's being described, and they could probably do some very impressive stuff. So exciting times right now. The floodgates appear to be opening for Switch 2 reports and leaks and all this stuff. So maybe we are getting closer and closer to Nintendo revealing this thing outright. One thing's for sure though, Tokyo Game Show coming up. Have a strong feeling Nintendo's going to be behind closed doors there, demonstrating this device then, so don't be surprised if we get even more information after September going into October. Next up, let's talk about Starfield and some concurrent player counts that were given to us as the game has now fully launched. So it's on cloud right now, it's on Xbox, and on PC, all through the Standard Edition and Game Pass. Well, we can see this posted up by Phil Spencer, who says Starfield exceeded 1 million concurrent players across all platforms today. Thanks to all players who helped us reach this great milestone, and congrats to Bethesda Studios. So 1 million concurrent players is very impressive when it gets down to it, because that just means 1 million people were on at one time together, and people will log in, log out consistently. So over time, we'll probably get a pretty large number. Remember with like Forza and stuff, we eventually got to the point like Forza and Halo that got to 20 million players. I think Starfield will continue to rack up players who are at least interested in the game. However, I do see many people kind of talk about bouncing off of it after just a couple of hours. And yeah, the game, it does take some time, I feel like, to get going, but when it gets going, it gets pretty good. I'm about 25-ish hours in, and I'm having a blast right now. I'm completely locked in. It's clicked completely. I'm rolling through different side quests right now. The main story, I've mostly been gathering things is what I'll say, and then I get kind of pulled off in one direction. For example, the Crimson Fleet has been pretty interesting, and I've been running through that quest line. And then as I'm on a planet, just kind of going around getting resources, I see just a ship kind of come out of the sky, out of the atmosphere, and it crash lands, and that can start a whole quest. So the game is constantly throwing stuff at you, but you do have to, I'd say, get at least 5 or 6 hours invested before things really start get moving for you. And I'd say you have that aha moment of, okay, I see what Starfield is trying to be here. So it seems at least the people are giving it a shot in Game Pass, and I do recommend to kind of stick with it a bit just to see if you eventually get to that moment where it all clicks into place. But hey, congratulations to Bethesda and Starfield and Microsoft. Does indeed seem like the big start, as they mentioned, of this generation, basically. And yeah, we'll see how things go for Forza, and then we get into 2024 with a bunch of other releases that they're lining up. Next up, let's talk about a PlayStation 5 console bundle that's leaked out early. And we, of course, know that there was the Spider-Man bundle, and that brought into question the idea of this PlayStation 5 revision coming out this year, because, oh, there's a PlayStation 5 Spider-Man 2 bundle still using the current PlayStation 5 system. Well, now it looks like there's going to be an FC24 bundle that was shared over on D-Labs. And I don't know if I can show you the box art or anything for it, because Sony can be a little weird when it comes to striking this stuff. I mean, here's like the FC24 trailer, but essentially it'll be a PlayStation 5 system, either digital or disc-based, and you'll get a copy of FC24, the full version, a download code to come with the system. And it makes sense, I would say, to do this bundle if we weren't hearing about this PlayStation 5 revision. Obviously, FC24, it's coming off of the FIFA franchise. There was a split between the organization there and EA. But this is still a very popular franchise, especially in Europe, where Sony does very, very well. So you pair that with the PS5, you're probably going to sell a lot of systems for people who maybe want to upgrade that year, maybe going into the holidays. This is set to release on September 29th. Of course, you could technically read into this as, is this Sony working to clear out stock, as this would have been made, this deal would have been made probably a while ago, months and months ago. It's definitely possible because this is not going to be a forever thing with this bundle. It'll probably be limited to, I don't know, maybe a month or two for its release, definitely throughout the holidays, and that'll probably be it'll have run its course. I still think that PlayStation 5 revision is lined up for this holiday, but I will admit, they have to announce it soon because we're coming up on, we're in the second week of September. They probably want to at least get that thing announced so that it is lined up for the holiday season, especially to go next to their PlayStation Portal that's coming out in November now. But I guess at any time, Sony could be showing up on their PlayStation blog and just say, here's the new PS5 revision. Still plays all the same games, but detachable disk drive, all of that. And oh yeah, it's coming out, say, in October or something. So I guess we'll keep an eye on the PlayStation blog, but technically, no, this does not mean that there's no PlayStation 5 revision coming. Just means Sony sees a pretty good opportunity with their current stock and, well, FC24, especially in Europe. So I guess we'll just see if Sony has any surprise announcements for us coming up around that PlayStation 5 console revision. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about the ESA and E3, which still very much in question if E3 will ever return. It hasn't looked great for that trade show for years and years now. But it does look like more changes are happening, and we can see this posted up by gamesindustry.biz with an entire report around this. ReedPop and ESA part ways over E3. If you remember, the ESA hired ReedPop, who's run a lot of things like PAX and stuff, just to try to revive E3. Didn't work out. They ended up just not having E3 once again, and now they're planning on something, I guess, for E3 2024, as the EA has not canceled plans for next year's event, but it won't take place in Los Angeles at that convention center either way. It seems like they're just moving completely away from that location. And we had kind of caught word of this before, but now it seems that it's been made more so official. This, according to the ESA president, who says, while the reach of E3 remains unmatched in our industry, we are continuing to explore how we can evolve it to best serve the video game industry and are evaluating every aspect of the event from the format to location. We are committed to our role as a convener for industry and look forward to sharing news about E3 in the coming months. Now, apparently they're also planning to do something in 2025. That's according to gamesindustry.biz, where that would be more of a reinvention of the entire trade show, and 2024 would be viewed more as like a gap year or a bridge year where they're just trying to throw something out there. If that's the case, you might as well call it now, because we've seen this play out multiple times. You're not sure, okay, maybe we're going to do it, maybe we're not, and then 3 months out, we hear that it's just canceled. Get a plan together now, start figuring it out for 2025, because if you're going to revive it, you got to really attempt it. And I would find probably a better location when it comes to dealing with traffic. Las Vegas is a location, or just Vegas in general, as a place that might be able to handle it better. I've also heard New York get floated, so them being able to also relocate and maybe work things out to be more modernized, they can kind of do it all at once. So I'd like to see them take one more shot at it just to see what they can come up with, but if it doesn't work, say in 2025, you might as well call it and just say that's it for E3. It was a moment in time that worked, but now things have moved on, and maybe even Summer Game Fest, because well, wouldn't you know it, Jeff Keighley decided to make a very timely tweet just to remind us that, yes, Summer Game Fest is coming back in 2024. So hats off to Jeff. He knows what he's doing behind the scenes, lining things up like this with these kind of announcements. But either way, I guess E3 is still kind of on for 2024, but I would look more towards 2025 for their big reinvention. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday. where I ask, how much are you expecting Nintendo's next system to cost? This would be, by the way, the most expensive model if there were, say, multiple configurations at launch. 72% locking in on $400, 13% on $300, 13% on $500. Wow, 3% think Nintendo is just going to absolutely break the bank at $600 or more. I feel like $400 or $399 is probably the sweet spot. I wouldn't be opposed, though, if Nintendo also showed up with a more expensive model at $500 for a few reasons. One, it doesn't appear that that price point is hurting, say, PlayStation 5 sales. They just continue to roll along selling tons and tons of systems. And I feel like it'd give them more leeway to do things like put an OLED display in there. I would prefer to buy a $500 OLED-equipped, larger storage capacity, all this, from Nintendo, as opposed to saying, well, okay, it's $400, has the LCD, has like 128 gigabytes of memory or something. I'd rather pay the extra money then and there and be set up, ready to go with a better overall experience. And it's always possible they do show up with multiple tiers, but if it was just one, I would probably agree it'll come in at $399. That just seems like the sweet spot now, especially with the OLED doing pretty well at $350. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Fiery, who says, Zelda can keep the open world thing and shift to a new graphic style, plus a new Hyrule. I'm honestly tired of the Breath of the Wild look, which transitioned into Tears of the Kingdom 2. So I actually want them to move on and make something new. The biggest issue I had with Tears of the Kingdom was that it was the same graphical style, same setting, all that. So yeah, not sad there won't be DLC, actually happy. And now we're hearing about this new device from Nintendo, their next generation system running UE5 with the Matrix demo. Seems very, very capable, much more so than that current system. So it does make you wonder what graphical style they may go with the next Zelda game, and maybe even how much more expansive they attempt to make it with new hardware. So very, very interesting. Would people want to see them go with a more realistic look for The Legend of Zelda and shy away from that, maybe the cell shading? Interesting stuff to consider there. But yeah, that's definitely gonna be a big moment whenever the Zelda team is ready to show what their next big project is on a system that should be able to push the limits once again. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Was Nintendo's next generation system, some of these reports getting out there surprising people with Unreal Engine 5 and the Matrix running on it. How capable are you expecting this system to be? And then also, what about the PlayStation 5 bundle leaking out? Do you think we're still going to see that revised PlayStation 5 system? And then E3 2024 seems a bit sketchy now, but do you think they can return in 2025 with a fully reinvented trade show? Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.